The Premier League is finally back, and I figured I may as well do a recap of Game Week 1, so let's get into it. The first match of the season was Arsenal vs Crystal Palace on Friday night, which ended 2-0 to the Gunners. For the first 20 minutes or so, Arsenal were playing very well, but as the game developed, they did seem a bit shaky at times, and the performance became less convincing, which was oftentimes the case with Arsenal last season, so that is kinda worrying as an Arsenal fan myself. But regardless, Arsenal did well to get their 2 goals, with one coming from Martinelli in the 20th minute and another through an own goal by Guehi in the 85th minute, who deflected Saka's cross into his own net. William Saliba made his Premier League debut this match, and man, this guy put in a monstrous performance and won man of the match because of it, continuing his pre-season form where he was equally as good in the games vs Chelsea and Sevilla, where Arsenal also managed to keep a clean sheet. Going into this match, there was big expectations for Gabriel Jesus from the 76.9% of fantasy Premier League players who owned him, but unfortunately he was unable to get a goal or assist, which was pretty disappointing after his hat-trick vs Sevilla. Regardless, I still felt Jesus had a great game and was unlucky not to get an assist early on in the match after he went past the Palace defence and passed it to Martinelli, whose shot went wide. Moving on, we have Liverpool vs Fulham, which ended as a 2-2 draw, much to the surprise of many. I had a feeling Fulham would do decent this season despite many thinking they'll get relegated, but even I was surprised that they performed as well as they did against one of the best sides in the league. And if they continue to put in performances like that, then they should comfortably stay up. Mitrovic was the one who put Fulham in front initially, and they held on to this lead for about half an hour before Darwin Núñez put one into the back of the net thanks to a great pass by Salah. Not too long after, Van Dijk conceded a penalty which put an end to Liverpool's 51 game streak of not giving away a penalty, and once again Mitrovic was the scorer for Fulham. Funnily enough, Van Dijk followed Saliba on Instagram the night before after his man in the match performance vs Crystal Palace. The guy must have DM'd Saliba for tips but got aired. But anyway, unfortunately for Fulham, they couldn't hold on to their lead as Núñez returned the favour and assisted Salah, although if you watched the goal it seemed more like a failed shot which ended up as an accidental assist. Salah scoring here made it so he's now scored in the opening match of the Premier League for Liverpool for 6 years in a row, which is pretty cool. However, as crazy as that stat is, I feel like Liverpool fans will be left with a sour taste in their mouth after this match. I know it's only the first game of the season and it's far too early to be thinking about a title, but Liverpool only finished a point behind City last season, and it's games like this which make all the difference, and realistically they should have left Craven Cottage with 3 points instead of the 1, considering Fulham are a newly promoted side. Fair play to Fulham though, they did well to get a result here, and it'll be interesting to see if they can put more performances like that across the course of the season. Next up is Chelsea vs Everton, a match which ended 1-0 to Chelsea and had absolutely nothing out of the ordinary going on.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Alright, what the fuck is going on here? Anyway, aside from Sterling and Mina doing a madness, Jorginho was the match winner for Chelsea here, scoring a penalty right before half time against Jordan Pickford. Getting his revenge 1 year later against the man who saved his penalty in the Euro 2020 final and denied Jorginho's chance to be the man who scored Italy's Euro winning penalty. It's a disappointing result for current Everton boss and former Chelsea boss and player Frank Lampard, who was looking to get a result against Chelsea at home just like he did towards the latter end of last season. But despite them putting in a decent performance, the penalty cost them and they were unable to get any points. Tottenham Hotspur played Southampton at home and won the match pretty comfortably with 4-1. Southampton took the lead early on thanks to James Ward-Prowse, but Spurs defenders struck back, with Sessegnon scoring in the 21st minute and Eric Dyer heading the ball into the back of the net 10 minutes later to take the lead. Southampton's centre-back Mohamed Salah must have been inspired by the Tottenham defenders scoring because he also scored. It's just a shame it was an own goal, and a terrible one at that too. I say that because the own goal was so preventable. The shot was going wide and all he had to do was leave it, but instead he tried to clear it and failed. Ultimately though, the own goal didn't make much of a difference when it came to the result of this match, as Kulusevski scored a few minutes after to dead and bury the game. Newly promoted Bournemouth played Aston Villa and managed to win 2-0 thanks to goals from Lerma and Moore, and I have to say this was a pretty surprising result. I know Villa aren't that great of a side, but with them signing the likes of Diego Carlos, Boubacar Kamara and permanently signing Coutinho in the summer, you would expect them to be beating Bournemouth, but it just wasn't their day for Steven Gerrard's sides. Credit to Bournemouth though, they were more clinical with their chances and deserved to win at the end of the day, and if they are going to be in a relegation battle this season, which many think could be the case, the 3 points they got from this match could prove to be pretty important by the end of the season. Newcastle United came up against Nottingham Forest and dominated the Premier League newcomers on their return to the Premier League after 23 years out of it, beating them 2-0 and not allowing Forest to get a single shot on target. Newcastle ended last season very strongly, and it seems like their solid performances aren't going away anytime soon this season. The goals in this match came through Fabian Schär and Callum Wilson, with Schär's goal being absolutely unreal and is by far the best goal this game week. Nottingham Forest would have been hoping to get a result on their first game back in the Prem, but it was never going to be an easy task against any house Newcastle side who have been on an upward trajectory since the Saudi takeover, and it didn't help that their marquee signing Jesse Lingard had an underwhelming debut. Leeds United faced Wolves and came back from a goal down to win 2-1 thanks to an own goal by Ryan Aït-Nouri in the 74th minute, although if you watch the replay it looks more like an Alisson goal. The other goals in this match came through opponents for Wolves early on in the match and Marino for Leeds 18 minutes after opponents' goal to equalise the game. Jack Harrison in particular had a very impressive game, with him creating 7 chances to get 1 assist, which is more than any other player in Game Week 1. Reigning Premier League champions Manchester City went up against West Ham and came away with 3 points thanks to a debut brace assist by Erling Haaland, and it's looking like the rest of the Premier League teams are in for a long season ahead with that machine up top. They were already the best team in the league, and now they're adding the footballing version of the Terminator to their squad. Yeah, good luck to any defence trying to deal with Haaland this season. Now, to be fair, West Ham did have a fairly weak defence with 4 of their centre-backs being out, leaving Zuma as their only fit central defender, with fullback Ben Johnson having to play alongside him in that centre-back role, which definitely made it harder to deal with Haaland. And if they had their first choice back line, it might have been a different story. And although they lost, they did do well to limit City to only 2 shots on target across the 90 minutes. Also, in an interview with Sky Sports after the game, Haaland accidentally swore, to which he was told to steady the language, and his response to that was, "Oh shit, sorry."
I should have been there, so but that's how it is.
Steady with the language.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Moving on, Leicester City faced Brentford at home, and they went 2-0 up but threw it all away when they let Joshua Silva get a late equaliser for Brentford, reducing the points they got from this match from 3-1. And whilst the Brentford fans may be happy that they were able to clinch a point for this match when at one stage it looked like Demi Rio were getting 0, I'm sure the Leicester fans are pretty annoyed with the way their team bought the lead here. Leicester City haven't made a single signing so far this summer, but have sold keeper Kasper Schmeichel and could end up selling both James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans by the end of the window due to reported interest from Newcastle and Arsenal respectively, and this result right here may encourage them to get some signings done because they really do need some if they want to improve upon last season. Now, last but not least, Manchester United came up against Brighton and lost 2-1 in embarrassing fashion. The main talking point going into this match was that Ronaldo was on the bench rather than in the starting 11, which was a bold decision by Ten Hag. But I get where it's coming from with the decision, considering Ronaldo did miss a few weeks of training. Whilst Ronaldo was on the bench, a picture could be seen of him looking at Rafael Varane, where they were probably both thinking about how much they regret leaving Real Madrid. Aleksandar Martinez, who has previously worked under Ten Hag at Ajax, had a pretty disappointing debut, getting himself booked and was lucky not to give away a penalty which could have made the scoreline even worse. Both of Brighton's goals came through Pascal Gross, who seems to always do well against United, and Manchester United's only goals didn't even come through one of their own players. It was an own goal by McAllister, who unsuccessfully tried to clear the ball. There was a lot of anticipation from United fans going into this match, as it was Ten Hag's first Premier League game as United boss, but by the time the full-time whistle blew, I'm pretty sure 99% of United fans were depressed. And to make matters worse, the day after this match, rumours emerged that United are looking to sign midfielder Adrian Rabiot, which basically no United fan is happy with. Anyway, that is Premier League Game Week 1 recapped. If you made it this far and you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and watch out, comment down below your opinions on any of the matches that happened this game week. With that being said, have a good one, guys. See ya.